Hello, this is the second in my series of short videos on which I talk about topics that can either have a positive or adverse effect on our success in business. The last time I talked about attitude, and I said that attitude was the mental window through which each of us perceives the outside world. And people that go on to develop a bad attitude are those who believe inside of them their own perception is that life has dealt them a bad hand, in that they may have lost a lover or had a divorce, lost a job, lost a business, been unsuccessful in several interviews for promotion or something of that nature. And not surprisingly, because they don't accept any responsibility for any of this themselves, that as far as they're concerned, it's all been about external influences adversely affecting their lives. And so they develop negative attitudes, and of course people with negative mindsets don't see any good in anything. All they see is the bad, they see faults, they see problems in every scenario. Whereas the positive person, which we all aspire to be, sees only the good, the options, the solutions, the opportunities that are presented by those same scenarios. And I want to look back now at general perceptions about babies and their attitudes and the way their mindsets develop. Now, most people would think that babies are cocooned in the safe environment of the home, and it's only once they start going into the outside world, by going to school or nursery or whatever it might be, that they're exposed to outside influences where there might be some negativity. Other children or teachers putting a cross against the work rather than a tick, or saying that's wrong, and so on. And a lot depends also on how the parents regard this. If there's a situation like this and the teacher has a word with the parent to say, you know, little so-and-so is not coming along as well as I thought, sometimes the parents, if they've got a negative attitude, can say, oh, I'm not having that, my child's much better than that, it's the teacher's fault, they're all rubbish and this, that and the other. And so that reinforces the negativity. The other scenario is the positive parent goes in and says to the child, in front of the teacher perhaps, Miss so-and-so or whoever, because they usually are women at that nursery age, is trying to help you to do this better, to learn or whatever. And they turn it positively, and they might also say to the teacher, is there anything that I can do that you would recommend that I can do to help with the learning process? So, you know, there's different things that can impact. Now, the truth is that toddlers, really small toddlers in the home environment, are full of positivity because there's been nothing bad in there to give them a bad experience. So that's why a child will crawl along up to a piece of furniture, climb up to it and then attempt to walk. And if they walk a couple of steps perhaps and fall down, and then they get up, they turn round, crawl back to the piece of furniture, get up and go again. So they keep getting up, falling down, getting up and going on, which is the same scenario that we talk about often in business. That's how it is, that's how innocent they are. But those same little toddlers, if mum and dad happen to be of the negative mindset, and perhaps grandma and granddad or other people in the home environment are, and they talk about negative things like, oh, we'll never have a car like that, we can't go on those fancy holidays, we'll never have a nice house, and so on. The child subconsciously takes all this in. They've no knowledge of it, obviously, but it starts to build up. And it's all, we're only talking about small steps, but this is how things start. Conversely, if you've got a family that are doing well, mum and dad are of the positive mindset, and all the child hears when he's toddling about is mum and dad talking about, you know, oh, another 5 years we'll have the mortgage paid off, then we'll be able to do this, we'll be a bigger car, we'll be able to go on holidays to America or Australia or whatever it might be. And so subconsciously the child is developing a positive can-do attitude, and that's fantastic. So we all need to be aware of what we're saying in front of even the smallest toddlers. Now, drawing on my work experience, I used to be a teacher in a college of further education, and we used to get kids coming into our classes, mainly boys because I was in a technical type of occupation, and they'd come along straight from school at 16 years old, and most of them were okay. They were quite keen to learn because it was different from the school environment and so on. We tried to teach them as adults, and what we were telling them was applied learning that would help them in the job, and they could make the connection and so on. But you'd get some kids who just wouldn't enter into it. And when you took them to one side and had a word and say, you know, what's the problem? Why is it that you don't seem to be entering into what we're trying to do? And they would say quite openly, well, my dad says there's no point in me trying to do anything because I'll never get a decent job. I'll never have anything. So what's the point? You know, well, how much harm are we doing to our children by sending them to college with an attitude like that? It's not their fault. So again, we need to be so careful. To take this theme on a bit in my own working environment, I used to work in a project development unit in this same college, and there were 3 or 4 of us working on project work, development work, where you've got to be positive. Every conversation's positive. Every idea is positive, and you're trying to make things work all the time. And it's great, a really can-do sort of environment. And right opposite our office door used to be a common room where the rest of the staff from the other departments in the college went for the tea and coffee break. And I used to enjoy going across there and having a cup of tea and a chat with people, because it was a positive environment. And then, as often happens in large organisations, from time to time there were disputes between staff and management, and this particular time it was a long one. It became quite protracted, and there was a lot of negativity as a result of it. And I used to go across there for a cup of tea, and it got that bad after a while that I used to wonder which one of them was going to hand me a razor so I could slit my wrists. It was that bad. And I thought, I've got to get out of here, because I can't be positive and do development work when I'm listening to this rubbish. So I had to get out. I used to go in, fill my teacup up, and go and have a sandwich and a cup of tea in my own office. So again, you know, life experiences but make you negative, but you can always work to better that, to get back to positivity. And I'm going to pick that up again in the next video. Thank you for listening, and bye for now.